The anime I will explain is called Alice in Borderland. The story follows a group of 3 friends who suddenly awaken in completely different alternate world. They are forced to play a deadly game of survival. Before that, please don't forget to subscribe. Ryohei Arisu is a high school student dreaming about go to some foreign country. Somewhere nice and warm, try new things and escape the meaningless humdrum life with his 2 friends Daikichi Kurobe and Chota Sagawa. In the middle of their talking a firework sets off, but one of fireworks surprised them. They see an abnormally massive fireworks shoot into the sky and soon it engulfs them in an explosion. They wake up to a ravaged and desolated Tokyo. The buildings have already been reclaimed by nature. Car-based suspicious of the situation, he think they only humans left, but Arisu and Chota are getting excited about their situation. There are no parents telling what to do and no annoying teacher. Their exploration leads them to a festival area as they enjoy the food left in the stalls. Suddenly a machine announces the beginning of a game. Kurobe wants to leave immediately from festival area. The 4th entry appears. She's a woman named Shibuki and she warns the boys that if they leave, if they don't take this seriously, they'll get killed. She takes care of a cigarette and thrown it towards the exit way. It's immediately decimated by the invisible strips installed to barricade the whole area. Kurobe one explanation about the game. She explains the game's difficulty level, which starts with 3 relatively less dangerous ones. This means that if they work together, they might all be able to survive the game. Kurobe draw first and receives a slip of great blessing, Chota second to draws and receives a slip of small blessing and contains a math problem. The machine announces who draw. The fortune must answer the question written on it. Kurobe is interrogating Shibuki about who really she is, and she's an ally or an enemy. Chota and Arisu is helping him solve it. But Chota gave the incorrect answer. The machine announces that it's going to shoot flaming arrows to kill him. Fortunately, the arrow's mascota, Arisu, he's in a total state of shock. He realized how serious and life-threatening this game. Shibuki just moving on to draw. She asked Sarah see what he thinks will happen if all the lanterns turn off before they finish. And Carb helps to answer her slip. Arisu found himself in tears and can't think straight, desperately wishing to go back to his boring life. Shibuki and Karabe, they give an incorrect answer, which triggers hundreds of flaming arrow their way. Kurobe command them to hide but Arisu still standing, his legs are shaking while watching the flaming arrow. Kurobe kicks him to snap him out of it, yelling at him that he can make it through this. Everyone is hiding but Chota still running and panicking causing him to get shot. Karbi runs into safe Chota. Arisu who was inspired by courage of his friend. He draw and receives a slip of greatest curse. A problem that's impossible to solve while everyone struck with hopelessness, Arisu who tries to connect all the hints everyone slips. He figure out that answering the problems correctly will not clear the game. He noticed the direction where the arrows will be coming from is written on the paper. They run, hurry over to the exit. The group runs until they discover an old well, but inside of old well is filled up with soil. An arrow hit the inside of the well. Carbide checked inside. The well discovers a way to survive. The group S climbs down to an empty room where the board game announces that they cleared the game. Everyone is happy as the machine gives them a visa that shows their stay has been extended by 3 days. The group decides to explore the area. They meet another participant who looks to be in great distress. That person says he won't participate anymore ever again. He lost all his friends. Suddenly a ray of green light drops directly on the man. Shibuki reveals that when the visa expires, they will die like the man. The group enjoys eating out of them. Kurobe suggests participating in another game tonight to strengthen their ability and to be more sharp. Chota has to exclude himself because of his injury and Shibuki decides to stay with Chota. That night, Arisu and Kurobe enter apartment building and meet a bunch of participants. They all seem to have experienced The exit is closed and they're going to play tag where a terrifying killer is lurking. The game of spades, which is all about physical efforts. The game will run for 30 minutes and it will be clear they reach the one room that's not locked. That's the home base. When time runs out, the building will be blown up. Furthermore, the building is surrounded by land mines. One of participants joins them. Arisu, who realizes the most important thing in this game is choosing their first spot. He begins analyzing the structure of the building and has head to determine the best ways to move. There's another mysterious player who seems to be as observant like Arisu, and he chooses the top floor to have a better view of what's happening around. The killer's starting to move and shooting the players. Arisu, who heard the gunshots from an upper floor. They are horrified to see participants being shot to death by the horse-headed killer. Then the killer chases after Arisu group. Upon spotting them, the group of Arisu started to run for their life. He suddenly said to Kurobe to follow him instead and hide in a corner, but one of the group not convinced to follow Arisu. The killer proceed down the stair without noticing them. A player on the top floor still observed the killer. The killer is wielding a Mactensen machine gun that can shoot at them from across the hallway, and since the killer expects the players to go down as many floors as possible. Now that the killer is away from them, it's their best chance to find the home base and win the game. Kurobe yells to the other participants that the killer is wearing a horse mask. He encourages everyone to communicate and tell each other about the killer's location. Those who are far away from the killer can look for the home base. The player upstairs was intrigued by Kurobe's proposal, but will this really work? Are the participants willing to risk by looking for the home base? Are the participants willing to trust the information from complete strangers? After all, it's only human nature to be selfish. A female participant risks her own life by doing exactly what Kurobe suggested, causing the killer to find her. Arisu and Kurobe amazed to see how she easily climbed through the railings to escape the killer. Then they continue to find the home base. If they check all the doors one by one, they will run out of time. Now the killer is on the same floor as them. Arisu is starting to slow down because of exhaustion. He is left behind as a result. Kurobe is spotted by the killer and he has no choice but to run away without Arisu. He encounters two other players and team up with him to take down the killer. They manage to catch him, but they underestimated the killer. He's holding more than one submachine gun. Arisu, who manages to stay alive, and when he spots his friend being chased, he calls out to him, prompting the killer to shoot at his direction. Then Arisu, who realized something about how killer's mind works. He figures out that the killer doesn't need to hunt down the participants, but only needs to protect the home base. There's only 1 minute left. Kurobe pushed down the killer and Arisu enter the home base, and he discovers two buttons need to be pushed at the same time to clear the game. There's no time left, they need to push the buttons. Suddenly one of participants appears to help Kurobe with the killer manages to get away. The female player from early show up and immediately helps them push the button that blows up killer's head and clears the game. Kurobe and Arisu get out of the building alive. The following day, Kurobe is in a taxi trying to start the engine as he remembers what the mysterious participant told him. He did not divulge everything he knew, but still gave Karba a hint that radios exist in Borderland and suggested looking for them in taxis. The radio still works and the voice instructs them to go to the beach. Meanwhile, Shibuki and Chota they both scared to participate in another game and die. As they are not as strong like Arisu and Karbi. Arisu he recalls the female participant. After clearing the game, she introduces herself as a Usagi Yujua, then Arisu invited her to join her team but refused to join them. She doesn't want her feelings get in the way when you get together to survive the game. The day may come when they have to kill each other to survive. Arisu, who believes it won't happen to them. He is determined to get out of the Borderlands alive with his friends. Meanwhile, Shibuki shares with children that the first game she participated in was Two of Hearts. A psychological game that destroys the minds of those desperate to survive. The game happened on a train where out of the 4 carriages, one was filled with a lethal poison gas. She found out that there wasn't enough gas masks. It was all matter of luck, and fortunately for her, the last carriage. Dozens have the lethal poison gas. The day passes and the four of them need to take part in another game. The game will be hide and seek. This game will only last for 10 minutes. They are provided with different weapons and the choker. The game difficulty is 7 of hearts. One of them will be the wolf and the remaining 3 will be sheep who will be trying to evade the wolf's gaze. The wolf visually detect the sheep, the sensor will react and the sheep will become the wolf. However, they were scared to know that this game would only allow one person to survive. And that person is the one who will be the last wolf. When the time limit is reached, the choker around the frail sheep will explode and it's game over. A board game randomly chooses the first wolf is Chota. All of them are confused to do anything. The wolf transfers from Chota to Arisu. But Arisu's still thinking how can they survive this game with everyone. The wolf transfers from Arisu to Kurub. The wolf shouldn't be looking at any of the sheep. Kurub look at Shibuki and Shibuki becomes the wolf. Then she run immediately and Karbi immediately follow her and caught. Shibuki manages to break free from Kurub and showed a call to Shibuk, the wolf transfer to him. He ran immediately and Arisu goes after him. He becomes the wolf. He decides to abandon his friends. He forces himself to hide for the next remaining time and suppress all emotions until he's the only one left. Chota speaks through the device and expresses how he cherishes their friendship. He has already given up the will to survive and apologizing for his own weakness and betrayal. After hearing Chota, Arisu realizes that the one who lost to madness is himself for forgetting how his friends saved him from the sadness and despair. He decides to withdraw from the game and instruct the rest to go to him at the entrance. If they want to survive, Karibi feels the same and is willing to sacrifice himself too. Chota is afraid of dying, but for his friend, he won't regret it. Even Shibuki decides to join the two. Karbi reminisces the time when Arisu, who talked about his dreams of traveling to Australia. Arisu, whose eyes are filled with tears. He runs around shouting to his friends to come out, but no one wants to come out.